you were at the Rams-Cowboys practice. Were you part of the gaggle around Jerry Jones?
I was part of the gaggle. So trying to figure out what is going on right now.
Right. So did Jerry just like have a moment, or like what happened?
It was really
with the CeeDee Lamb, Nobu stuff. You know,
the Nobu thing was what kind of threw me off, because I'm like, are we joking here? Are we being serious?
Right.
As far as practice went, it was kind of like, okay, not a lot coming out of here today. The Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks connection is the highlight of the day. And then all of a sudden, Jerry's yakking it up with Sean McVay. And then he comes over to talk to the reporters. And we're standing there, and obviously he gets asked, what's the latest with CeeDee? Is there any urgency with preseason games starting? And he's like, no. Weird kind of silence, like, what do you mean, no? And Jerry, as you saw, I went to high school, I went to college. I don't know why I said it. And we're like, well, I mean, what do you mean by this? And he just said, I don't have a sense of urgency. And it's kind of like, you're standing there hearing this, and everyone's chuckling, and Jerry's smiling and chuckling, and then he throws out Nobu, and you're kind of like, is this guy serious? And does he know what he's saying? But of course he knows what he's saying. He does this all the time. So then you very quickly realize, okay, that's out there on Twitter within 30 seconds.
Right.
And CeeDee then is retweeting it, LOL. I say lol, but LOL.
Yes.
And Dak Prescott walks off the podium when he's done saying, I have a sense of urgency if you guys want to know, right?
Is that what he said?
Yeah. He walked off the podium and said, I know you guys want to ask, and I do have a sense of urgency. And after what you saw at practice, like, they're clearly missing CeeDee Lamb. So it was bizarre, and yet totally on par for the Cowboys at the same time.
Did you take Dak's, I have a sense of urgency to mean he wants CeeDee back, or he's talking about his own contractual situation?
He wants CeeDee back.
Okay.
Right. Like, he wants CeeDee out there. He wants CeeDee as part. I mean, they need him. That offense can't be reach its potential without him, obviously. Like, and that's no offense to Brandon Cooks and Turpin and those guys handing off to Ezekiel Elliott, but it's CeeDee Lamb. He's
basically the linchpin.
Yeah.
And so is there a sense of what, because I know your former colleague Ed Werder has a podcast, the Doomsday Podcast with Matt Mosley as well, where Stephen Jones was talking to him at the same time.
Yeah.
And saying the stuff that you would think that, I guess is he being good cop here? I don't
well,
as opposed to funny cop or serious cop?
Right. The sense after all this went down was that Jerry knows exactly what he's doing. They're going to have CeeDee Lamb. Like, does Jerry have a sense of urgency? Probably not, because the season is still a month away. So I guess what's your time frame on urgency?
Yes.
But he's very much going to, the sense I got, pay CeeDee Lamb. It's just, is he losing sleep at night to get it done tomorrow? No, but he knows it's going to happen.
Right. This league, things don't get done until, midnight strikes, or it's a 12:01 league.
Right. Or it's like Labor Day weekend when everyone's trying to enjoy their last day off, and then suddenly you have to grab your computer out of your beach bag and, do it. We all know that feeling, right?
The vagaries of covering the National Football League, let alone the Dallas Cowboys. But yes, I mean, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I mean, I've been at this a while, and it just seems to be all these negotiations, about 95% of them is all about arguing when somebody's sense of midnight is, like that's it.
I covered the Rams long enough to know. I mean, we were always Jared Goff, like literally Labor Day weekend. I'm going out to dinner for my birthday, and I told my husband, we got to stop. They just signed Jared Goff, right? Like Aaron Donald held out for all those years. Like, this is just how the league goes. They don't get the deal done until it's the 11th hour. And at the end of the day, they say, we kind of also saved his legs. We did this, we did that. So the urgency comes when game week comes. Until then, you can't really get too out of sorts with it.
So can we evaluate the Cowboys at this point in time?
I don't think so. I mean, watching them, like, again, the highlight of the day was Dak Prescott to Brandon Cooks. What is there to take away from that?
And so, okay, but the general sense around the Cowboys facility is CeeDee will get done.
Yes.
What about Dak?
Yeah, so that's really interesting, because the more people I speak to, not necessarily in the Cowboys organization, but just around the league, who also have a great sense of how this stuff goes, is like they're starting to think that Jerry Jones is ready to just roll into the season and see what he has. Like, Mike McCarthy's on his final year. Dak Prescott's on his final year. And if you're Dak, there's always that possibility that he goes and signs elsewhere. But if the Cowboys have a great season and then Jerry goes, well, let's pay you. If you're Dak, why would you entertain other teams if you're coming off a great season? And if you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, like that's arguably the most lucrative position in all of sports because of everything else that comes with being in that role. So they risk losing him, but given that it's Jerry Jones, he might be willing to just say, we're going to start over if we can't get past this hump and go deep into the playoffs and get me to a Super Bowl. Like, he's kind of a little bit of a wild card enough to say, great, I'll go find a new quarterback.
Certainly if Dak is trying to reset the market significantly right now, his sense might be, well, he'll reset the market significantly next March too. I do have the risk of somebody significantly resetting the market with Dak elsewhere and losing Dak. But he also must look across the NFL and know who's got the gumption or the space to spend 60 to 65 million on a new quarterback. And there's probably not like more than 2 or 3 teams potentially.
Right.
Unless we see somebody get hurt this season, that changes the situation. So he might be just like, yeah, I mean, there's no urgency with Dak, but CeeDee, there's urgency.
Yes.
There has to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
you know,
well, you don't replace a receiver like that on the open market. You don't just
right.
Even if you are planning to evaluate what's going on with your coach and your quarterback, you need that receiver for the long haul.
You have to.
And if you want to succeed this year, like Dak kind of knows his situation, right? He knows what's in his contract as far as the no tag clause and all of that. So he knows like this is it for me. But if you're CeeDee Lamb, you need more security because you don't have all that and you don't want to go through the franchise tag situation. So that seems to be a situation they really need to rectify in order to kind of reach their potential going into the year.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.